evening, everyone. Call to order. If everyone would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. 2.03, adoption of the agenda. It is recommended that the agenda for November 9th, 2022, regular meeting of the Board of School Trustees be adopted as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 3, recognition. 3.01, job well done, Mrs. Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're excited that we get to recognize Darlene Cochran. She's our administrative assistant in the Human Resources Department. I think Darlene's one of those kind of unsung heroes too, that she does a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and she just makes it happen. So, and her family is here with her tonight too, so I'm sure we'll get to meet them. So Darlene began working at School City Mishawaka when she was 27, and she just completed her 27th year with us. So she's got very valuable, a lot of knowledge and stuff with us. So she worked at John Young for 9 years and then has been here at the Administration Center ever since in the Human Resources Department. I did go about this. So, in case you don't know, so Darlene's had basically 2 positions in that 27 years that she's been with us, which is really amazing. But in that time, she's had 15 direct supervisors. There's been a little bit of a revolving door around her, so we're kind of wondering if it's a Darlene issue or if it's, so if your business needs to get rid of people, maybe bring in Darlene and she can get room for you. And there's also been 7 superintendents in the time she's been here, so that's a lot, that's a lot. And I think, if you think about it, there's like just thousands of people that she has worked with over this time, especially in HR, as they come through and everything. So it's really remarkable. One of her colleagues shared, whether you're working with or vacationing with Darlene, you better have your running shoes on, and that is true. She's always sprinting to help a staff member or to meet a state deadline. While vacationing, she must see every sunset, every tourist spot, eat at every great restaurant, and see every wildlife within a 10-mile radius, especially moose. So as we get into some fun facts about Darlene, she once met Muhammad Ali at a John Young basketball game. And I don't know if she'll come up and talk about this, but it's actually really funny. She may or may not have offended Muhammad Ali, so it's a really great story. It really is. It really is. Every year she hosts an annual family Christmas themed dinner, and this year it's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So if we can have an address and a date, we may all like to show up. I bet that would be a lot of fun. So. And if you know her too, she takes a lot of pictures, and she actually shared, I take too many pictures of everything. So she has a slight obsession with Dr. Pepper. It started when she was 5 years old. Her aunt introduced it to her for breakfast, which is always a good start, but by adding peanuts to it, to the bottle. So it's a Southern thing, so I don't get it, but I'm sure it's delicious. Maybe, but if ever you wonder, she does love Dr. Pepper. So. And then she and her best friend of over 40 years share the same birthday and year. So her best friend is older by 4 hours, which it's always good to have an elder, to run things past. So good thing you have her. So her favorite title is Gigi, which one of her little grandbabies is here with us too. So very, very cute little kids. And her bucket list includes she wants to visit all the national parks. And then if you recall, in October when Erica Weaver Creed, one of her things was throwing a hot air balloon. So Darlene's going to just jump in with her as part of her bucket list. So if we get a couple more people that want to do this, we might be able to save some money but still get it done. So, but one of Darlene's colleagues shared, the first 2 words that pop into my mind when I think about Darlene are helpful and thoughtful. Darlene is helpful to anyone and everyone, always going the extra mile to ensure that SEM staff get the information and assistance they need. If someone needs to be celebrated, congratulated, or just cheered up, Darlene is always the person thoughtful enough to send a card, buy a gift, or just offer a shoulder to cry on. Darlene truly cares about the SEM staff, and you can see that in everything she does. School State Mishawaka is very lucky to have an employee as selfless and loyal as Darlene, and I consider myself just as lucky to have Darlene in my life as a friend. So tonight, we get to say, job well done to Darlene. You can come up here if you'd like. I know she really is excited. She's all day been excited that she might get to talk in front of people. So you don't have to if you don't want. So because. So we do have to bring this back to you. A little card for you, and I heard salsas you like, so we have a gift certificate. If you don't like it, you can Corey. So I'm just going to totally throw. So that's what we have. So I don't know, Corey, if you want to add anything too.
Oh, heck yeah, I'll always talk about Darlene.
Yeah.
I think of those 15 supervisors, I think 3 of them may be in the room this evening as well, so we're lucky on that too. You know, in many cases, Darlene is the first face, first voice that our employees have the privilege of working with. On many occasions, sometimes her voice and face are the last that they work with too, again, in some instances. But regardless if it be the first or the last, she does so with a smile. She does so professionally, with competence. She is more than capable and has run a department alongside several others for many, many years. And I think Mishawaka would not be the same without her. And so we're certainly privileged, we're blessed. I am fortunate to work alongside her every single day. I probably drive her crazy most days. But job well done. I know it makes her uncomfortable. That's why it's so much fun. So, yeah, we couldn't do it without you.
And I will say too, since Grant's here, he actually has the longest run with Darlene, so that is very rare. So I think it's 11 years. So something worked there. So there we go.
Congratulations, Darlene. Well deserved. Well deserved. Okay, 4, comments and questions from the floor. 4.01, representatives of the Mishawaka Parent Group. Nobody. 4.02, representatives of school employees. I don't see Amy. 4.03, representatives of the Mishawaka Education Foundation. Mr. Matt Lynch.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you, Honorable School Board. And I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and just tell you a little bit about what Mishawaka Education Foundation is doing. I am on the board once again. I was a member of the board early in its existence, and Jane saw me at a lunch and she invited me back. Glad to be back. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be a part of it. First of all, thank you all for participating in bidding and the auction, the dinner, a night at the movies, at the Danke Ballroom at Notre Dame. Everyone had a wonderful evening, and over $50,000 was raised to help Mishawaka students to succeed. So thank you so much. I do want to highlight 6 grants that we recently decided to give out. Number 1 is Building a Stronger Morning. Emily Miller from LaSalle is just a brief synopsis, a soft start for students having STEM materials to choose from, how their brains to get moving, and that was $508. I think I could use that. Number 2 is sensory movement integration. That's Jeff Yohe from HUMS. Various patterns and designs for floors provide engagement for students. various, I mean, since various design towards engagements, students engage. Number 4, launch esports. Chad Brew and Brandon Triton, Mishawaka High School in in the middle school, John Young Middle School. I'm really excited about this one. I was at Bethel when they launched theirs, and I had no idea what that was all about. And I'm telling you, it's a lot more than just computer games. More money is given out in esports professionally than the PGA. It is just enormously, not just popular, but it's a great thing to attract STEM students, to get students out of their basement or out of their bedroom to come and participate. These are a lot of students who would never participate in a sport, and it's a great thing. And I believe it can help to differentiate the school city of Mishawaka. So that, I'm really high on that, as you can tell. And 2,540 was given for that, and I hope that a lot more money can and will come in through sponsorship for that, but a lot of benefits to that one. The 5th one, creativity now in 3D. Ryan Mitchell from Hums and Stephanie Modlin from Twin Branch to provide 3D printers, MakerBot 3D printer package for K through 6 students to utilize and learn how to use these and understand PLTW classwork better. And the total for that is $5,291. So, thank you for the opportunity. Any questions?
No, thank you,
All right.
Matt.
Thank you.
4.04, general public. No one has signed up to speak tonight. 5, the consent agenda. 5.01, approval of the minutes of the October 26, 2022 meeting. It is recommended that the minutes of October 26, 2022 board meeting be approved as presented. 5.02, approval of the bill warrants and payroll. It is recommended that the board approve payments of the bill warrants and payroll in the amounts of $3,434,232.78 from the appropriate funds. 5.03, approval of donations. It is recommended that the board approve the donations as listed and documented. 5.04, declaration of obsolete property. It is recommended, it is recommended to approve, I don't see where it's at. 5.05, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move for approval?
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 6, reports and discussion items. There's nothing. 7 is human resources. 7.01, personnel report. Mr. Laban.
Thank you, President Parks. Good evening, members of the board. This evening, we have 2 certified staff, 11 support staff, and 5 extra duty assignments for your approval. We do have 1 new retirement this evening. That would be Miss Judy Meidel. Judy is a longtime employee of Mishawaka. She was first hired in 1988, August 15th, and if Ms. Pettit's math and I are correct, it's 34 years ago. So she served as the secretary at Battelle Elementary for 13 years, and then came to the administration center where she has served ever since. She's worked in transportation, she's worked with payroll, most recently serving as an account specialist in the business department. And Judy brings a lot of energy and a lot of sass to this office, and she's certainly going to be missed. So on behalf of the leadership team, we wish her all the best and thank her for many years of service. Finally, we do have on the personnel report this evening the recommendation for approval of Mr. Steve Miskin, our new Director of Operations. Mr. Miskin will provide leadership and vision in all matters related to facilities, grounds, maintenance and custodial services. Steve has worked in a local corporation for over 34 years, most recently in the last 21 years serving as the Director of Buildings and Grounds. So we're looking forward. He's going to bring a wealth of knowledge, leadership, and competence to the position, and we're certainly blessed to have him join our team. So Steve is here this evening, and so I'd like to invite him up to the podium there with some of his family, and he can introduce them and share a few words as he does so. We certainly want to welcome to the family.
Didn't know if they were coming up with me or not. First, before I introduce them, President Parks, Dr. Stevens, members of the school board, and my fellow administrators. I am over the moon right now. After 34 years in the same position, I never lost my focus, but when I walked in here, the welcoming, even for my interview, just the feeling I've got just walking through the door was unlike anything I've ever felt. I know it sounds strange, but it just, day one, I mean, everybody gave me a Snickers bar, so I'm on a sugar high for the past it just, the welcomeness that I've had just in the short time I've been here and just been in the buildings, I've got to every one of them except two now. And I can't say enough great things of what I see out there, and just taking my predecessor's legacy and just building on that. It's just phenomenal. I just feel so blessed to be part of the family, and I just can't say enough. I'd be up here all night boring everybody, but this is my wife Ann. We've been married 34 years, so she's a Mishawaka grad, along with her 7 brothers and sisters. So I got maroon runs deep in this other family. So this is my youngest daughter Nicole. My other my other kids couldn't be here, but this is my support person. Been with me through thick and thin, and I can't say enough about her. And I'm just blessed, I guess, right now, and to reconnect with old friends and make new ones. I'm just over the top. I just keep pinching myself. I walked to my office and I told Michelle, I said, "You sure this is my office?" I said, "Man, this is." I'm used to not so nice things like that. But I am just truly just over the moon right now. I can't wait to get in, and Alex and I've had some meetings, and the direction that this corporation's going in is just, it's exciting to me. I still got a lot of fuel in my tank, and I'm glad I could be part of this. It's just spectacular to me.
Well, congratulations.
Welcome.
We're happy to have you. Okay. 8 is curriculum and instruction. Oh, I'm so sorry. Never mind. Is there a motion? I got so moved by it all.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations. 8, curriculum, instruction, and technology, nothing. 9, business and operations. 9.01, approval of the agreement for professional services with Schmidt and Associates. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, President Parks and members of the board. I noticed Mr. Huppert's in the crowd tonight, and he would be the first to tell you, as he's told me many times, the tennis courts at Baker Park need to be replaced. So for your approval this evening, we have an agreement with Schmidt and Associates to replace all 10 tennis courts at Baker Park. The scope of work would include the earthwork, sidewalk work, new bleacher pads, new net posts, new practice boards, and a new perimeter fencing and gates around the tennis courts. They're proposing a post-tension concrete court as it will last significantly longer than an asphalt court. However, we are going to get an alternate on an asphalt court as well. The base fee for these services is $95,000. They did attach to the agreement a detailed schedule, starting with, again, the preliminary design. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have about this agreement, but we're asking for your favorable approval of an agreement with Schmidt and Associates for the professional services related to replacing the tennis courts at Baker Park.
Alex, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
How long has this issue been on the plate? As far as how long have we been looking at these courts and know that there's been an issue?
We've known since I arrived here that the courts were cracking and that the cracking was getting worse. I would assume that it was on our radar even before that. Again, 5-6 years ago, we could still play on the courts, but we've reached a point now where, again, my opinion, I don't believe we should play on at least 3, maybe 4 of the courts because of the cracking. So again, it gets significantly worse every winter, but it has been on our radar for a number of years now.
And right now, it's just our tennis team, correct? Like our gym classes don't use the tennis courts at this point, so it's just the tennis team?
Correct.
Okay, and does anyone else use our courts? At one point, didn't Bethel, I heard, Bethel was in the,
University men's and women's team that use it, so
they use it now currently, or they have been?
it's their practice and their game facility. So it's getting as much use now as it ever has. As you mentioned, it's this court, and then these courts over here.
Okay.
There is the possibility too, and we don't know.
No.
There's the possibility that we could look into some pickleball courts too, just with the explosion of that, if that needs to be, explored.
And this season, I don't know if you can answer this, but did we have many home matches? Or did the condition of the courts hinder having us, having matches?
It was a normal home season. We were able to play the home matches there, but we were asked for the last 3 years to host the Northern Lakes Conference the last 2 years. And we were up for it again this year, but we've had to decline that just because we don't have enough courts available. And we told them there's a possibility in the future, if you could put us off one more year, and they just not just enough for the match.
Okay.
I have two more thoughts on this. Do we know, well, first off, I'm kind of getting old. How long have those courts been out there? I mean, I thought it was like 5 or 6 years, and I'm betting it's a whole lot
long
longer.
time.
Oh, long time.
Long time.
And has there been any updates to it in the time that it was put in, or is this like the first time we're going to be really putting the money back into it again? I guess that's my thought. Like, how often are we going to have to do this? What's the lifespan of said course?
So if we end up going with the tension concrete courts, in talking with Schmidt, they've had courts built that way that have lasted 20 or 30 years.
Okay.
Not guaranteeing that it's gonna
Right,
last
right,
that
right,
long,
right.
but the asphalt courts tend to start to fail within 10
A
years.
lot of it will depend upon the base and what's under it, right?
Okay.
They're
We don't know that right
proposing-
now, what's under?
They're proposing going over what's there now, putting some aggregate down on the existing tennis courts and going right over it. That's what they're proposing at this time, but we'll get more into those weeds as we go through the
I think
design phase.
this is Stephen's mission when he starts here, working on this project.
And then the fencing has to be replaced as well around
The
the courts?
fencing is unfortunately, it's in the asphalt
foundation.
itself, and since the plan is to go over the top of it, yeah, we did discuss that, but they did not recommend reusing the fencing. The fencing is showing a little bit of its age. We have some issues in a few areas with the fencing too, so it could use replacement, but unfortunately, the way that we're going about renovating it, it's gonna be ideal to replace the fencing. The lighting will remain, the little building that's out there will remain. They're gonna do some curbing around the building with some steps or some ramps, so that doesn't need to be replaced. But yes, we did talk through the fencing.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 9.02, approval of emergency connectivity fund. Mr. Moglin.
Thank you, President Parks, ladies and gentlemen of the board. In April of this year, administration applied for student Chromebooks through the FCC's Emergency Connectivity Fund. Last week, we were awarded $366,765 to purchase 980 Chromebooks, licenses, and cases. This is the second round of emergency connectivity funds the district has received. The first round provided 1,264 Chromebooks to grades 6 through 12 students to replace Chromebooks that were no longer supported with security updates. These funds will allow the replacement of 2 grade levels of student Chromebooks to support our device refresh cycle. With that, it's recommended that the Board of Trustees accept the emergency connectivity funds and approve the purchase of the student Chromebooks as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you very much for your work in
awesome.
getting this
Yeah,
grant.
yes.
Yes,
Good
fantastic.
job.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Very nicely done. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
9.03, approval of the agreement with Gallagher Risk Management Service for property casualty and workers' compensation. Mr. Newman.
Thank you, President Parks and members of the board. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our friend, Mr. Bob Frick with Gallagher, and he's going to introduce the rest of the team. They're going to give a short presentation on on Gallagher and how they intend to work with School City of Mishawaka. And then it'll come back to me, and I'll turn it over for approval then.
Good evening. As Alex introduced, I'm Bob Frick from Gallagher Benefit Services. A little bit familiar, or I may be a little bit familiar to some of you. Make sure that I introduce the other people that are serving School City Mishawaka in regards to benefits. Greg Hicksonball and Troy Scott in the back row, hiding back there. Of course, Mr. Hicksonball can never hide in Mishawaka. R&R Benefits was the broker that you assigned 5 years ago on benefits. We were purchased March 1st of 2021 by Gallagher. A.J. Gallagher is a publicly held company. And part of that, and one of the benefits that we felt were important to our clients, were the resources that we were going to bring to the table. So this evening, I am bringing with me my colleagues Martin Deslin and Waylon, and I always want to say Jennings, but it's Thompson, who will be handling the presentation from here.
Thank you for having us. We have prepared a very short presentation just to give you a little bit of background on Gallagher. And so if we can go ahead and, oh, I found it. Yep. There we go. As we discussed, this is our team that would be handling the account should we gain approval. I do want to give a quick background on Gallagher, the company. Gallagher, as mentioned, is a publicly traded company, family run, founded in 1927, based out of Chicago, but we have offices all over the country and the world. One thing that's on here that I think is very important, this global reach and local presence. That's how we've built our company. We do have the resources to bring to the table, but it's very important to us that we have a local presence everywhere we're at. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. We're driven by family values. We're about to be fourth generation family run, and that makes us unique in the public company sector. So one thing I want to point your attention to on this slide, though, world's most ethical companies. We were named by Ethisphere for the 10th straight year as one of the most ethical companies in the world. We're the only insurance broker that's been named to that list, so we take that very seriously. There are several factors that allow you to be named most ethical. One of them is transparency, one of them is sustainability. So lots of different factors go into that, but we're very proud of that designation, so I wanted to bring it to your attention. On this slide, it just talks a little bit about our commitment to community. You'll find in all of our Gallagher offices that we serve the communities that we're in. We have different projects that are locally based for each one of those. We have a commitment to diversity, very important to our company. You can see some of the awards that we've received in recognition of that up on the screen. And then again, our commitment to integrity with the Ethisphere Award. Last thing I want to drill down on before Martin takes over is our specialty in this space. This is very important to this meeting in particular. So in the public sector and K-12 education space, we have over 10,000 clients nationally. What that means is when we have a depot of expertise like that, we have over 450 experts that all they deal in is the public sector K-12 space every day. So when you have a difficult claim, we have claims advocates that work with K-12 schools that know the dynamics involved, that know the tricky situations, they can really help navigate those. We have loss control people that are experts in K-12 schools. So just a deep well of expertise there. We place over $1.5 billion in premium, which means we have very solid relationships with all of the major carriers that deal in this space, and that's important when it comes time for negotiation. One thing I'll point your attention to in that middle column is that we have over 4,500 K-12 school clients specifically, and just wanted to point that out. We also administer over 120 K-12 pools across the country. So what we're trying to demonstrate here is we really know this business, and we are passionate about it. And in addition to the K-12 practice, we also do city government, county government, so just very familiar with this public space. This time I'm going to turn it over to Martin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I joined Gallagher 8 years ago when my dad and I sold our agency, 8 years ago, 2014. I spent my entire life working in education policy fields. My dad was a teacher and coach who sold insurance on the side. His dad was a teacher and coach who sold insurance on the side. So these are always been very enjoyable meetings for me to be at. I'm thrilled to be here. Spent a lot of time at board meetings where you get in the weeds talking about the facilities and budgets and regulations, and I just thought it was very neat that you spent a lot of time talking about the humans who are making things work. Wanted to talk quickly about how we approach the day-to-day service and working with our clients, not just in public K-12, but across the board. So we've worked really hard to move from a transactional approach to property and casualty insurance, where you get your renewal, you make sure it's as inexpensive as possible, and you move on to the next step. So we like to be in front of our clients on a very regular basis, and we like to structure our conversations with our clients strategically around what we call a 360, core 360 wheel, where we're looking at every cost driver of of your insurance and risk management program. So when we start out in the green area, we're talking about insurance premiums, but that's really less than 1/6 of your overall cost of risk. So we want to talk about your program structure, any coverage gaps, uninsured or uninsurable losses, loss prevention and claims, which is hopefully making sure that you don't have any losses, but being there for you when you do. And then one of my favorite, contractual liability, which is helping make sure that you are taking on as little contractual risk and liability as possible and pushing as much away as you can to people like Schmidt when they're designing your tennis courts. So we did have an opportunity to do some review, I think I just went the wrong way, of your, get that back. There we go. We had an opportunity to provide a review and overview of your insurance program and made some recommendations and observations, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but the observations that we made here about your program really inform some of the recommendations from a timeline standpoint going forward. So we want to have an opportunity to come to you well in advance of your 3/1 renewal with a variety of options and choices and decision points to help make sure that you feel like you are comfortably rounding out your overall insurance program. If you have any specific questions about any of these issues, I'd be happy to dive in, but we do think there are ways that we can fill in some gaps, fill in some uninsured, potentially uninsured areas, but also then save some money to make up for that and again, round out your program. Once we do that, then we try to get into the fun stuff with our National Risk Control team. Our National Risk Control team really works in 3 buckets. Loss control is a group of risk engineers who focus on education of public entity space. We will help you look at policies and procedures, programs, look at facilities themselves, and help make sure that your policies and procedures are as up to date as possible. If necessary, come out, walk facilities with you. We just spent 2 days at Indianapolis Public Schools walking 3 buildings, identifying slip, trip, and fall hazards to think about how we can help keep teachers and administrators more safe, make recommendations that we can then apply throughout the district. If you do have a claim, we often say you don't want a knucklehead like me or Waylon between you and the claims adjuster. So we have folks who do nothing but claims advocacy every day, whether it be property, liability. We just started a new team of lawyers who do nothing but management liability and cyber liability claims advocacy, which is exploding. So again, you've got a team that does nothing but try to help you reduce your claims. We have a team that when it is time for a claim is there to help you. And then we have claims centers. So if you have a claim that might get hairy or might be a little bit odd and you don't feel comfortable reporting it yourself, sometimes the bus accidents are real easy or work comp is real easy. Other times there could be mitigating factors and you feel like you need some assistance reporting that claim. We can help you with that as well. So those are services that, because I think of our size and efficiency, we can bring to our clients across the board. With that, I want to turn things over to Waylon to talk about more fun stuff, and that would be our approach to data and analytics.
Yeah, as we all know, data and analytics are becoming more and more important. That's very true in the insurance industry as well. Gallagher reinvests millions of dollars a year into developing our Gallagher Drive platform. A lot of detail on this, but we have benchmarking services. How are you faring in the limits that you're carrying with other like-sized school corporations in different parts of the country? We can help you with those benchmarks. Placement analytics. We know the carriers that are best in this space. We can see trends that are happening because of that. We can also measure the rates that you're paying for your insurance against other similar school corporations to make sure you're getting a fair deal, which helps us in our negotiations with the carrier. And then claims analytics. This is a really fun one in that we can take a deep dive look at your claims, and we will run those through our analytics, and then we can start to identify hot spots that are happening inside the school district that we can start to then apply targeted loss control efforts to. So if we're seeing ladder accidents are very common in school corporations, we can start to do specific training on that. So what we're trying to do is, instead of taking a mallet to try to figure these things out, we're taking a scalpel, and we're trying to be very smart about the way we do it to create efficiencies so that you're not training everyone, but you're maybe training a specific group of people that might need that training. I think one of the reasons Martin and the R&R team became an acquisition of Gallagher were these resources that Bob spoke about a minute ago. These are really what separate us, and what we've tried to do is take these tools that large corporations get and bring them into this public sector in K-12 schools to give all the tools that are typically available. That's what's fueled our growth, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about being passionate about local organizations, city governments, school corporations. So if you have any questions about that, we're happy to answer those. And then
We have one real quick
Yep.
thing, just real quickly. Starting out in the claims analytics, we haven't been able to do a full and deep dive yet, but just our first blush at taking your work comp claims and dumping them into some of our proprietary software, quickly identified, I think, 3 work comp claims that have been lingering for a little bit and 1 auto claim, and we might be able to get closed out. We don't know for sure. We need to do more research. But even just getting a claim closed out and getting the reserve off the table is ultimately going to save you money, and it just takes the time to do the work.
Great. Last slide. So we did prepare a timeline that we mentioned earlier, and the way this timeline was set up was with key milestones along the way. We know that we have the holidays coming up. That always slows everything down, but the things that we identified when we did the analysis of your current program, we've built in opportunities to start to make some changes, or at least bring you actionable data so that it will help you make informed decisions on that. And we feel like this timeline represents the time we would need coming up on that March 1 renewal to be able to have the most impact on your current program. And with that, that's the end of the formal presentation.
All right, thank you. Alex?
Does any members of the board have any other questions for Gallagher?
No, very thorough presentation, thank you.
So for the board's approval this evening is a client services agreement with Gallagher to expand our existing relationship to cover services related to property, casualty, and workers' compensation insurance. The scope of services is outlined in Exhibit A of the agreement, which is attached to the agenda item. The proposed fee for these services is $50,000 annually, with commissions applicable to ancillary coverages like pollution liability, student accident, or cyber liability, if we so choose to obtain those. So again, we're asking for the board's favorable approval of this agreement with Gallagher.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. 10, policy updates. 10.01, first reading of policies. Ms. Pettit and Dr. Stevens.
Good evening, Board. You have a handout with detailed information about this update, Volume 35, Number 1, September 2022, from Neola. As always, all policies up for revision and new policies can be thoroughly reviewed in board docs under draft policies. Tonight, I'm just going to highlight a few of them. Policy 0142.2 oath. It has technical corrections and added that each board member shall also take the oath of office. So all of you will be joining Holly this year as our newly elected board member and taking the oath together. So that was something new, and I know that you're going to enjoy that come this January.
It's always such a great time.
Okay, policy 2464, programs for high ability students, has been revised to bring it into alignment with the current language used in state statutes. A new addition of this policy states that the program must be approved by the school board and the plan must be available for public inspection as well as filed with the Indiana Department of Education. Policy 5420, reporting student progress, has been revised to address current legislative requirements regarding the corporation's responsibility and manner of informing parents of their students' scores on statewide assessments. The new information says, after each school receives the results of student statewide assessment scores in schools which conduct parent-teacher conferences, a teacher who is currently teaching a student shall discuss the student's statewide assessment results with the parent at the next parent-teacher conference. So it's, we have those tests in the spring. It's going to be that next year's teacher that's going to be going over that with the parents. Policy 3231, outside activities of staff. This policy had not been updated since 2008. And although it was not part of Neola's current update, we conferred with our rep, and he agreed with us in removing the following sentence. Staff members may not accept fees for remedial tutoring of students currently enrolled in one or more of their classes. We are recommending this because our teachers are given after-school opportunities to earn stipends for programs such as iRead remediation and the upcoming Indiana Learns tutoring program. So we think it's a really good thing to remove that. And lastly, I just want to point out one of the common revisions we are seeing in many of our different policies throughout this packet, prior packets and packets to come, is that they are removing the gender-specific pronouns of he and she. So replacing that with things like the students. So that's going away in all of those. And that's all I have tonight, unless you have any questions for me.
Nope. I think
Okay.
it's clear. Thank you, Ann.
And Dr. Stevens will bring you that second reading and approval in December. Thank you.
All right, moving on. 11, superintendent's report and action items. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, President Parks. A few items for your consideration tonight, and none of these are action items. They're all information related. The first is the Community Collaborating Committee met last Thursday and has a recommendation pertaining to schools as neighborhood centers for the board to take under advisement during our December meeting. But just as a little tease, the recommendation centers on the United Way One Roof Initiative with a special emphasis on growing our relationship with the Boys and Girls Club of St. Joseph County. So look for that in the December meeting. Next up, I wanted to briefly touch on operating referendum results throughout Indiana. And as you'll see on this document I've provided for you, 4 of the 7 operating referendums on the ballot yesterday passed in their respective communities, meaning that 3 did not. I bring that information to you because, as you know, we are preparing to potentially pass a resolution to move forward with an operating referendum in December. There's no such thing as a sure thing, but I do believe that if we position ourselves well and communicate appropriately in the community, that we can pass an operating referendum renewal here at School City of Mishawaka. At the bottom of that sheet, just as a side note, the MSD of Wabash County had a capital referendum to build a new high school, and that also failed as well. But I just want to make sure I laid out the difference between the capital and the operating referendum throughout the state. Next up, just side note from my own personal vantage point, Veterans Day convocations have been going on this week throughout School City. Many of our elementary schools will be holding those convocations, and I appreciate the opportunity to attend these events and appreciate the patriotism and gratitude that our students and staff show our veterans. It's phenomenal to see, and very appreciative of the opportunity to be part of that. And last but not least, in case you did not notice, to my left is the Spiker Leadership Center. As can be seen, that center is completed on the east wall of the boardroom. The installation was a tick behind schedule, due in part to the delay in raw materials. Sure. We've never heard that one before, right? And COVID, I believe, was part of that. But now that it is complete, this wall showcases all of the past superintendents of School City Mishawaka, and of course pays special tribute to Dr. Spiker for the work he completed while superintendent. So if you haven't noticed that, it's right over there, adjacent to Mr. Troyer and Ms. Kozik in the back. There they go. They're starting their modeling career by showcasing the Spiker Leadership Center wall. So with that said, that concludes tonight's superintendent's report. Happy to entertain questions the board may have. If there are none, President Parks, back to you.
Thank you. Let's not see your picture up there for a while. How about that?
That's the goal.
That is the goal. Okay. 12, communications. 12.01, public announcements. November 23rd is an e-learning day for students and teachers. Students and teachers do not have to report to the building. All Mishawaka schools and administrative center will be closed for Thanksgiving, November 24th and 25th of 2022. The next meeting of the Board of School Trustees will be December 7th, 2022 at the Administration Center. Before we close, yesterday was the election, and I am grateful and very humbled by the support that I received from the community of Mishawaka. So if you were part of that, thank you very much, and I continue to try to work hard to support all of our teachers and our students for the next 4 years. So thank you very much. And with nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.